Hopefully you could relate to something like this, because I want you to think of the queen mentality not as just something that's so superficial, but something that becomes ultimately like uniquely yours. Hello, everyone. My name is Vivian Villacis, and I am so excited to be here with you all. This is my little Queen's Corner. Why did I call it a Queen's Corner? Because every one of us, every woman out there that is listening to this, it's so crucial for us to have a little corner, a big or little corner, whatever you want it to be, just where you could go and really take inventory of what's going on the inside, and taking the time to thinking it through, to feeling it through, and to have that time for yourself. So I find myself in the comfort of my home and surrounded by so much beauty around me, and not just, flowers and nature and all of that, but I'm also here with Cindy. She is coming all the way from Las Vegas, and she is really a beautiful friend, a mentor, a coach, as she's training with me in this a company of mine, which I created, Ignite Your Passion. So I want to thank you for being here, Cindy.
Yes, thank you for having me.
How was your trip?
It was great.
Yeah.
It was awesome.
Good.
Thank you.
I'm so happy to have you here. So in this Queen's Corner, the reason why I started it, the reason why it was been in my heart to create something like this is because I have a program that I created, which is Ignite Your Passion. And within the Ignite Your Passion program, we created this Queen's Corner. We have a Facebook group that you could follow us in. And now we're creating this podcast because I feel like there is so much questions, so much information that we need to really have this real conversations about how we're feeling. And if you don't know a little bit about me, I have been married for 22 years to the same man, believe it or not, from high school. And it's beautiful to know that I am not the only one. So yesterday we got to host a dinner, and we were with other couples in the table, and all of them had been married for 20, 30, 33 years. And I was just like, wow, that's so amazing that we could surround ourselves with women, with couples that are in relationships just like I am. Right. And just like probably you are, if you're listening to this. And the theme of it all, when we started to share, was, we have all gone through similar situations, similar hurdles and challenges, yet we're still together because there is love and there's an intention to love one another. So I thought that was really, really amazing. And I know, Cindy, you're in a marriage also.
Yes. Yeah, it seemed like the least amount of years. So I've only been married just about coming up on 7 years.
Okay.
So I felt like, but it was great. It was great to get that insight from learning from others that have been married so many years. Yeah.
So much wisdom. So within that setting of like, we were sitting there having dinner, and I'm thinking like, well, I'm filming tomorrow this podcast, and like, what is really this Queen's Corner about? And if you're listening to this, and if you could create your own little corner and call it your Queen's Corner, then that's the one thing that you could do for you. So now here's the thing, what the Queen means to me, like something that is really taking me years to figure out this queen inside of me, the mentality that it's inside of me, and how to show up in life, how to show up in the relationship when sometimes we don't want to show up like the queen. So the queen is not about us having like all this outside adornments, jewelry, and, what it looks like on the outside, which it could be. I'm not making that wrong. I mean, I love all those things, but we're talking about the emotional, the more of like, how does the queen show up, right? Yes. And that's the challenge that sometimes we all face. And the more that you sit in your little corner, wherever you find yourself, like, what is that queen to you? So I want you to listen to me as I tell you right now, for me, what the queen is for me. And it's just every letter of the acronym of the Queen. I've sat down, and every time it changes, like I'm always evolving. So what it means to me, it's also evolving. And I love that. So this is a little exercise for you to do as you're listening to this. If you think of the letter Q, the first letter of Queen, what is it to you? What does it feel like to you, right? So for me is quality. The quality of the relationships and the way that I show up, the quality of the way that I do things in my life. And it may not always be the best, but I'm really conscious of like, how do I show up and the quality of the things that I do and how I do them. The next letter is U. And the U is the way that I feel this power, superpower that we have as women, that we can unite. We have the sense of like unity. Wherever you go, we as women, we have this power. You may not be using it. I wasn't using it for a long time. How do we combine? How do we unite? How do we make this parts of us be so unique that we could use it to our own good? The letter E, for me, one of the biggest ones has been this year is energy. The energy that we give, the energy that we take, the energy that who we are, because we're all made up of like energy, whether it's love energy, giving energy, all of this is inside of us for us to be truly conscious of that inside of us, right? The next letter E would be, for me, is excellence. And at the beginning, I remember laughing with my kids. I have two, a 14 and a 15-year-old. They didn't even know how to spell it. This was last year. So they didn't even know how to spell it. And for a minute, like I had to think about it too. But I'm like, the more that I sat with that word of being excellent, and not just excellence in an outside world, whether it's your job or other relationships, but being excellence to yourself. Like, how do you show up with that queen mentality and say like, I could do things, everything, how I do anything is how I do everything. How do I show up and be excellent to that part in me? And just learning to write the word over and over again, it just felt like, okay, this feels so real to me. And then the last letter, which is the letter N, is nourishing who I am as a woman, because we women take care of everything and everyone else. And hopefully if you're listening to this, you could relate. Like, we take care of everyone. Everything that comes in our way, like it's a priority. And for a little while, like I didn't have myself as a priority. And the minute that I switched that, like I became this person that I had to be nourished and have time to nourish and have that ability to be noble enough to take that time for me. Even though like I love my husband, I love my kids, I still do, but it's like, what about me? I had to take care of myself too. So that letter is just a reminder. So I want you to think of that acronym, the Queen, how you could take that, each letter for yourself and make it yours. How do you own that mentality of being the Queen? And if you're listening to this, I know it may not be easy at the first couple of tries. If you need to find a thesaurus, find one, a dictionary, find one. But I hopefully you could relate to something like this, because I want you to think of the queen mentality, not as just something that's so superficial, but something that becomes ultimately like uniquely yours, just yours, not for anybody else. And that's where we find ourselves. That's the intention behind this Queen's Corner that we're starting here. It's like, how do we give you the insight to start to love, take care of, and nourish you? How do you start? And if you do this one thing, it will get you to start thinking about it. Like, what is it that you need in your life? Does that make sense?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, especially the nourishment when you just said about taking care of everybody else. I just felt like the weight of that. Just sometimes like there's just so many things happening, so many things that you need to get taken care of, especially with kids. And I have smaller kids than that. So they're still very needy. And so it's a lot. It's definitely a lot. So just remembering that you are important, that certain things can wait. Like you don't have to get everything done. Everything doesn't have to be perfect.
Right. Yes. So if you're listening to this, that's really what I want to leave in your heart. And what I will end with is sometimes we don't feel like we are a priority, but the minute that you put yourself on that list, yourself on the list first, then you will become a priority. And I know it's not easy, but it's doable. And everything that is worthwhile, it's never easy. So I thank you for listening. I thank you for just showing up for yourself, and mostly just remember that you were created to be that queen, that God created something in you that sometimes we can even imagine it at the very beginning, but the more that you remember, the more that it becomes such a part of you. So I want to thank you for listening, and just know that the best is yet to come.